Georgia State football is back from Idaho. Georgia State basketball is back from Mississippi. And we're talking Georgia State baseball in December. This is the Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to this week's Georgia State Sports Update. We're going to be talking a little Georgia State football as well as basketball, but joined in studio right now in our opening segment by Georgia State's head baseball coach, Greg Frady. And Coach, welcome to the studio. It's just starting to get cold in Atlanta, and we're talking baseball because, as you know, all these sports are year-round, whether you're actually in season or out of season. If you're out of season, you're getting ready for in season. And Georgia State baseball, you guys are busy right now getting ready for 2017.
Yeah, we are, and we've really just finished. It's been since August, and we've been really rolling. And our players are in final exams this week. They're going to get just a little time off in the month of December. And in January, we hit the ground running, and then it's really continuous all the way into June. So exciting times. I think we've got a schedule that we're going to talk about. We've got a really great team, very optimistic about where we're going. Had a lot of injuries last year, but they're all healthy this year, and we're excited to put this year's edition on the field.
We've had Athletic Director Charlie Cobb in here, head basketball coach Ron Hunter and Sharon Baldwin Tenner, as well as various football coaches. Now that you're here, a lot of excitement around Georgia State Stadium, formerly known as Turner Field, and what that will bring to Georgia State University athletics, as well as the plans to put a baseball stadium, a college baseball stadium for the Panthers on the site of the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
Well, that's right. And the facilities are really going to help every team that's here. But even greater than that, Dave, the public perception, the momentum, the energy, the talk, is growing so fast. It's an amazing rate of what's happening here with Georgia State athletics. I think all of us are seeing the additional interest from the community. I know that in our recruiting cycle this year, there was more interest than there has been. I can't wait to get a facility in place. I think it's going to help us in recruiting. It's going to help us win games. I think it's going to help us be in a position to host championships. I'm excited about all that. But we've always said, and I think it's been said by others, that the athletics are a front porch to any university. Mm-hmm. And if it's inviting and people feel good about it, then they're going to come in and see the big house. Sometimes, no matter how great the academic university is, from the outside, in a very general way, people kind of judge the university by the athletic facilities. I think now when people drive by Turner Field and see football as it's going to be and baseball as it's going to be, it's really going to enhance our entire university in every way. And as you know, we have a great academic university. It's just another way to sell it.
Well, and it will take baseball to the next level, and kudos to Coach Frady and the folks that have come before you. But in the 10 years that you've been at Georgia State as the head coach, you guys have won an average of 30 games a year. Playing out at the ballpark at Panthersville, you know my fondness for the ballpark at Panthersville, having been out there now for upwards of 30 years. But we've always lagged behind a lot of the other schools that we played. Just in our baseball facility alone, since we're talking baseball, this will certainly bring Georgia State to the forefront facility-wise, just in baseball.
Well, I think that's right. I think you need to learn to love what you have, make the most of what you have. And we've had some great players. Great players, not good players, great players. And I think sometimes you think, well, you're going to get a new facility, and then all of a sudden you're going to get so many brand new, better players. The reality is that we've had good players, and our teams have been good. And I'm excited to continue to put another edition of this year's team with really good players on the field. But facilities create public perception, which opens up the door for more and better players as they continue to keep coming. And I think what we'll see is maybe more depth. We'll maybe have a few more options in recruiting. But what's going on here, we've had 11 All-Americans in the past 4 years. We'll be happy with 11 All-Americans in the next 4 years in a new facility.
Sure.
So I think we've got that in order. but it's going to completely make us be viewed differently. And so I'm excited about that.
Well, you know, one thing too, folks from the outside looking in, they want to know, okay, well, how many players went from Georgia State into the Major League Baseball draft? And we've had a handful here in the last 2-3 years that have gone on to play at the next level, out of the Georgia State baseball program.
We have, and if you look at the Sun Belt teams, the best Sun Belt teams get 1, 2, 3 guys drafted a year. If you have a really spectacular year, maybe 4. And so we've been averaging that 1, 2, 3 guys getting a chance to play professional baseball. And a lot of times when we think about professional baseball, we think about Major League Baseball organizations only, but we've had guys like Wayne Wages and Mark Quebec play in the European leagues and sign. I'm really proud of what our players have done in the way of continuing career. But for most college players, when the season ends as a senior, that could be potentially it. Very proud of David Buchanan. He still represents us at the major league level, up and down with the Philadelphia Phillies, and breaking that barrier. I think it's only going to lead to more. We have a special couple of players still playing right now. Matt Rose, who's in the Cubs system, doing really, really well, and Joey Roach in the Tampa Rays system, also doing very well. Both of those guys have a legitimate chance to continue a career.
Well, one thing that's been great for college baseball here in Atlanta in February, as we're still mainly talking college basketball, has been the Atlanta Challenge, and that involves Georgia State, Georgia Tech, and Kennesaw State. This year you got Marshall, Western Michigan, and BYU coming in. Those 3 teams here to start the college baseball weekend there in mid-February.
Well, all 3 of those teams had really good years last year. Marshall was the Conference USA regular season leader up until the last weekend, and they had a really good team and won 40 games. BYU had one of the special seasons of last year and was really, really strong. And then, of course, Western Michigan won the MAC tournament last year. So all 3 of those teams will be good. But I think you can go down this list and find every team's going to be challenging in their own way. College baseball has moved into some level of parity that if you get the right team on the field with the experience and then they play well and you stay healthy, you have a chance to really do well. And I know you'll probably talk about Coastal Carolina. That was a lot of what happened with those guys. They have a very good program, a good team, but they stayed healthy. They had a senior-laden team, and they played well down the stretch with some confidence. It's just what it is in today's world in the Sun Belt. Sun Belt is a fantastic league. It's a league of great players and great coaches. It will test you every single weekend. And I think our team is really excited to take on that challenge. We're looking forward to it. Even last year when we had our moments of difficulty, we were still in every weekend's games. Going out there and knowing that we have a full complement of players, it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you mentioned Coastal Carolina, the newest member of the Sun Belt Conference. I believe it's a first. I don't know that the defending college baseball World Series champion has ever come to the ballpark at Panthersville, but they're going to be at Panthersville when they visit on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, March 31, April 1 and 2. They won the whole thing last year and transition right into the Sun Belt Conference.
Well, they're coming into the league. Everybody knows they're pretty good. And their coach, Gary Gilmore, is a good friend of mine, and he does a fantastic job with their team, and they have really good players. But the reality is it's just another good team coming to Panthersville, or it's just another good team in the Sun Belt we got to go play. Yeah. The emphasis has always got to be about our team and playing good baseball and staying focused on the things that we can control. I think Gary Gilmore will be the first to say it's going to be challenging every single weekend, and we're looking forward to it, and I really believe those guys are going to have a bullseye on them, and our players are looking forward to playing them.
Of course, we always talk pitching, but some familiar names here, some returning starters dotted all over this lineup, starting with Jack Thompson at first and Jared Hood at the other corner at third, Justin Jones at short, and Will Kilgore at second, and Ryan Blanton at center. I mean, guys that have been around here now for a number of years. Jalen Woolard came in, had a pretty good year last year in his first year here.
All those are good players. All those guys have experience. All those guys know what it takes to win, and they know how to play under difficult stretches. Bryce Conley, Brian White, Brandon Baker, those are experienced pitchers also for us. Then a couple of new guys, Tanner Thompson, Gaddis, our new freshman. We have a little better situation in pitching, Yet I think you never have enough pitching as a college team. And so a lot of our new guys are going to need to emerge that we've got experience and veterans around them in the field. And I think we're going to be in a lot of very close games. So my job as a coach and our staff is to get our team ready for the close games, because I think we're going to be in a lot of those. And I think our season's going to be defined on how we handle these one-run games.
Coach, great having you here in studio. Always fun to talk a little hot stove Georgia State baseball in December, but the season will be here before you know it. Appreciate you coming in.
Well, it will be here, and I look forward to seeing everybody out at the park. I can tell you we have a product we're seeing. Take a moment and come out there. I'm looking forward to being at the Turner Field Properties, but for now we're in Panthersville, and we're going to make the most of that.
I want to thank Georgia State's head baseball coach Greg Frady coming in. Again, talking a little hot stove winter Georgia State baseball talk. Panthers again will open up on Friday, February the 17th, the start of the Atlanta Challenge, when the Thundering Herd of Marshall visit the ballpark at Panthersville. Coming up here in the Georgia State Sports Update as we move along, we're going to recap, talk a little Georgia State football, recap and preview a little bit of Georgia State basketball as well, right here in the Georgia State Sports Update. Back here in the Georgia State Sports Update, we're talking a little Georgia State football, a little Georgia State basketball. Of course, the football season is over. We were out in Idaho this past Saturday. Georgia State losing 37-12 to the Idaho Vandals to close out the season. Georgia State basketball, on the other hand, they were all the way in Starkville, Mississippi. They came up short against the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. Joined right now by Brandon Leak, who's with me on the radio for each and every broadcast. And, first of all, with football, again, you were with basketball. You didn't see the Idaho game, but I think you were listening. 6 turnovers is going to make it hard to win any football game. If we were standing at the Dome doing our segment following a game, we turned it over 6 times, we'd probably be having the same conversation. You turn the football over 6 times, it's going to be hard to win the game.
Internet's a wonderful thing. I heard every one of the calls, Dave. And, it was disappointing because you wanted to go out on a good note and try to win 2 games going into the next season. And certainly any time you have the amount of turnovers the Panthers had, you're going to have difficulty winning the ball game. So 6 turnovers, hard for any team to overcome. But I think when you look at the totality of what the team had to endure really the last 3 weeks, you have to give Coach Tim Lopano a lot of credit. You have to give the student athletes a lot of credit. They had a lot of things that they had to deal with outside of the gridiron and outside of the playbook in order to be prepared to play. So, hopefully the good things that were left on tape, you can utilize those. The bad things, you can identify those and make sure you don't make those mistakes when we head over into the next season and into a new stadium.
Yeah, and just to follow up one thing, the tough thing about the turnovers was, for example, the first 2 times Idaho scored, the turnovers gave them great field position. And then special teams ghosts reared their ugly head again, and we missed 2-point after attempts and missed a 25-yard chip shot field goal. So it's one of those days where you're turning the ball over, giving Idaho great field position, and on the other hand, when you have opportunities to score, even if it's a field goal, albeit a 25-yard short field goal, we just weren't able to convert.
Well, the Vandals weren't a bucket of chopped liver. They're a bowl team. They have 8 wins, and good teams take advantage of opportunities. And when you turn the ball over, and a couple of those turnovers, Connor had a couple of his interceptions tipped, and so those are some of the ebbs and flows that sometimes don't go your way in a football game. So things we need to make sure we're focused in on next year: taking care of the football, making sure we block well on special teams, making sure we kick the ball through the uprights. And I think, putting all of those together along with what I think will be a pretty good defense will make the Panthers a better team out of the gate. I think that's the biggest thing for the Panthers next season on the gridiron, getting out to a good start early in the season and then having some of the momentum carry you throughout the rest of the year.
Well, it's funny you say that because that leads me into my next point to bring up here is the fact that you go back to the beginning of the season when we were also focused on Ball State, and I think we all said Ball State was under the category of must win because then we had to run the gauntlet. We had to go to Air Force out in Colorado Springs. We knew we had to go to Wisconsin, which actually was a pretty good game, and then we had to open up conference play in Boone, North Carolina. We stubbed our toe against Ball State, which really put us behind the 8 ball. It was somewhat reminiscent to 2 years ago losing to Charlotte in the opener. Granted, the team was able to come back late in the season after a 2-6 start, win the final 4 games, and go to the AutoNation Cure Bowl. this year, starting out 0-4 was just too much to overcome.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be part of the Panther DNA as well. Not giving games away. When you have teams on the ropes, finish them off. Finding ways to win on the road. They're tough when you're out of conference. They're certainly tough within the Sun Belt Conference. And so we've had so many games over the last 3 years. The record won't indicate that, but 7 minutes to go in a game, we're either right there or we're leading and one or two things don't go our way. I think finding a way to win those games when you have a chance to pull those off, those certainly will help the Panthers, rack up the wins and become a program that is bowl eligible, not just once or twice, but maybe in perpetuity, where you find a way to win games that are tough and you don't give them away. You can end up being a bowl team many, many years to come.
Now, some of the highlights this year, again, only 3 wins on the season. The first win came at home against Texas State, and Texas State, as much as we struggled, they struggled more than we did. Won the homecoming game against Tennessee Martin at the Georgia Dome, which was nice. But for all intents and purposes, it wasn't a bowl game, but it was, and that was the big showdown with Georgia Southern, the final home game in the Georgia Dome, and Georgia State ends up getting out to a quick start, 20-0 lead. They hold on and they win it 30-24. And that was the week before, obviously going to Idaho, but that was, for all intents and purposes, the game on the schedule.
Yeah, I don't know if you have that in the information when the student athletes sign, but that should be required, a must-win against those folks from down south in Statesboro. But I thought that was a good moment in that so many players had their parents, their friends, their family, recruits were there, and so you want to win against your most heated rival. And I thought, making that a back-to-back situation, going down there and handing them their worst loss in program history, and following that up with a pretty good win at home, I think really it helps the juices of the rivalry continue, but it also helps supplant you as one of the teams that Georgia Southern knows that they're going to have a problem facing, whether they're at home or on the road.
We're talking Georgia State football right now. Dave Cohen along with Brandon Leak here on the Georgia State Sports Update. You point to 2 players, and I know it's a lot more than just 2 players, but you give me Penny Hart and you give me Taz Bateman, as much as we struggle to run the football, because you go back and look at that depth chart of like 7 running backs, including Trey Barnett and Darius Stubbs, who ended up playing a lot late as the injuries started to pile up. You give me Taz Bateman healthy for most of the year and a healthy Penny Hart for most, if not all, of the year. And I think it's obviously the results are different down the stretch.
Oh, no question. Penny didn't even get through 2 games, and unfortunately, he was just so heartbroken because he wanted to be out there with his teammates. And remember, Connor Manning, this is his first time really seeing significant action at the quarterback position. He transferred in from another program, but he didn't play that much. And so he needed as many weapons to work with as possible. So losing the freshman of the year in the Sun Belt Conference, a guy who put up a staggering amount of numbers, not having him out there certainly had an impact on the offense. And getting Penny back and having Connor with his last year in the program, being able to work with him, I think that will be better. And you mentioned Taz. Hopefully Taz and Kyler Neal and DeMarcus Kirk and Darius Stubbs will be a formidable tandem to help the Panthers run the ball, because I think offensively, running the ball and having running backs who can make plays out of the backfield as well, but running the football will help this program offensively be a lot more stable.
One of the freshmen this year out of Campbell High School in Smyrna, Juwan Nobles, he caught a 63-yard touchdown pass in that final game at Idaho. But boy, are we going to miss Robert Davis and Keith Rucker and Todd Boyd. And I mean, there's some very, very nice receivers that we've enjoyed watching here the last 4 years that are moving on. Hopefully we'll see Robert Davis at the next level. And any of the others that are able to continue on at the next level. But, boy, we're going to miss some of these guys.
Yeah, I wish they started giving out 6 or 7 years of eligibility. But it's the circle of life. You're going to get kids that come in, and they're going to be freshmen, and they're going to learn, and they're going to grow. And then, like Robert Davis, hopefully he'll get a chance to go play in the next level. We'll see him playing on Sundays. But the great thing, I think, about what the Panthers have going on right now is that the cupboard is not bare. You lose a Robert Davis, but you do have Glenn Smith Smith still left here. You still have Jawan Nobles, who showed that as a freshman he is not overtaken by the moment. We just talked about the running back stable, and you're going to lose Keith Rucker, who has been the glue guy as one of your tight ends, but you have an Ari Wirtz coming behind him. So even though those great guys on the field won't be there, won't be in the locker room, they still have some teammates that will be able to make plays and certainly be threats throughout the Sun Belt Conference to let people know that this will still be a very potent offense no matter who is pulling the trigger or who's coaching the team.
All right, so a little recap of Georgia State football. Again, they finished the season at 3-9. Georgia State basketball right now at 4-3. And you look at those 3 losses, and we're talking Auburn, Purdue, and Mississippi State. All 3 of those games on the road. Of course, Auburn and Purdue, part of that Cancun challenge that afforded us the trip down to Cancun, Mexico, where Panthers ended up winning both games. But Mississippi State was a tough one. The threes were falling. And it was tough to get out of Starkville there when they're going to shoot the ball on their home floor that well.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate because we played pretty good perimeter defense. Coach Hunter had talked about the three-point shot being the difference maker in that game, and we did a very good job. They had one of their kids, Lamar Peters, got hot. He hit 3 in a row, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the offense. But some of the positives we saw once again, Isaiah Williams with another big game. He came in shooting over 50% from behind the three-point line. He shoots over 50% from behind the three-point line on the road. It was good to see Justin Seymour come off the bench. And so I think Coach Hunter has done a good job of preparing the guys against some of the toughest competition you can, especially early in the season. Our losses have come to Auburn, have come to Purdue at Purdue, and have come to Mississippi State at Mississippi State. So in the Auburn game, we had turnovers early, some self-inflicted wounds there, but you have to give them a lot of credit. In Purdue, we were right there. Free throws made a little bit of difference. They shot 37, we shot 11. So it was one of those deals where you just couldn't shoot your way at the free throw line back into the game. But other than that, I think Coach has been very pleased, as he should be, with the way that the team has picked up the offense and the defense together to really play well and to compete, whether we're at home or we're on the road.
Well, Georgia Southwestern will be the next opponent on the schedule for Georgia State basketball. Head coach Ron Hunter going to go for his Georgia State coaching career leading 108th career win in his time here at Georgia State. He's right now tied with former Panther coach Bob Reinhardt. But Georgia Southwestern in here, no more Auburns, no more Purdues, no more Mississippi States on the schedule from here on out. We still got some formidable opponents as well, non-conference in Middle Tennessee State and Old Dominion. Both on the road, and then we'll jump right into the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah, I think we'll be ready. I think that's a good way to stack up your non-conference schedule. You play some teams that can give you a really good challenge, and you play some teams where you want to work on some things, and then you get into Sun Belt play, and you know what you have, and you know what your rotations are. I think the biggest thing for the Panthers, one, to watch turnovers. If this team takes care of the basketball with the offensive firepower that Coach Hunter and his staff has this season, we should see some scores in the high 70s and maybe the high 80s on a regular basis. So taking care of the basketball will be key. Perimeter defense will be key. We want to make sure that teams don't shoot their way ahead or shoot their way back into games at the three-point line, and then making our free throws. Our guards, when they get to the free throw line, they do a great job of knocking those down. Big guys still working on some rhythm issues early in the season, so getting the right guys to the free throw line, taking care of the turnovers and guarding the three-point line, I think the biggest things that will help the Panthers potentially have one of those special seasons if we can get a little luck and play the way Coach Hunter wants the guys to play.
Appreciate it. Let's go out and win a lot of basketball games.
Let's get a lot of W's. It should be fun.
All right, Georgia State basketball again. Ron Hunter going to go for his 108th career coaching win at Georgia State. Coming up on Saturday in the Sports Arena, Georgia State at home against Georgia Southwestern at 2 o'clock. We'll have it for you on the radio. On the radio network. So coming up next here in the Georgia State Sports Update, Aaron Bessie, Director of Marketing, going to stop by, tell us about a lot of exciting things coming up around Georgia State athletics. Stay with us here in the Georgia State Sports Update. Joining us right now on the Georgia State Sports Update here in our final segment is the Director of Marketing within Georgia State Athletics. That's Aaron Bessie, and a first-time appearance here in the Georgia State Sports Update. Welcome.
Thank you for finally having me. You know, I've been pushing for this for some time. You know, better late than never.
All right,
good to be here.
Yep, great to have you. Busy time here at Georgia State. Football ending, so
yes.
Everybody now turns their attention 100% for the most part to Georgia State men's and women's basketball, and you guys got a lot going on at the sports arena.
We do. Football was fun. We closed it out obviously with a bang at home. That was a great way to go out at the Dome. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, now we're full blown into basketball right now. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up for the holiday season. Obviously, the students are going to be out of town mostly. So to fill that void, we've got some cool ticket packages that we're offering for fans, families, people to just kind of get out of the house. Obviously, school's out. You got some days off of work, so the family might be cooped up inside. We're just trying to give them some incentives to come out to the arena. The traffic's not going to be bad. Just some easy matinee games. The December 28th game against UMass is obviously a huge game for us. UMass is a perennially good basketball team, so that'll be a lot of fun. So we've teed up 50% off ticket packages for anyone that wants to come out. Our concessions are only going to be $1. Which is very unique. A lot of places don't do that. So if you wanted to, spend an afternoon watching some basketball and getting some very cheap food, affordable food, feed the kids. The way to take advantage of that offer is to go to our website, georgiastatesports.com/tix, TIX, and then enter the promo code HOLIDAY. And that'll get you those ticket deals. That also applies to our women's basketball tournament that we're hosting. They'll be at home December 20th and December 22nd. And so for that game, tickets will only be $1. So $1 tickets for women's basketball, half off for men's basketball, $1 concessions. What more can you ask for, Dave? I mean, we're teeing it up for these people to just come on down, watch some basketball, show their Panther pride, and have some fun. Santa's going to be at the sports arena this weekend.
Is it a blue Santa?
It will not be a blue Santa. He's going to be red. Yeah, that's a good call.
We've had blue Santa in the past.
Really? Well, that's interesting. We're going to bring out the the authentic Santa. He's cleared time in his busy schedule to be at the sports arena this Saturday. So we'll have him. The spirit groups will have their Santa hats on.
Right.
Pounce will be rocking his Santa hat. So we'll have a photo booth area set up on the 4th floor concourse where kids and families can go up there, take pictures, have a lot of fun with that. So that should be exciting. Another reason to bring the family out. And that holiday deal I was talking about applies to this weekend's game, the 10th, the December 14th game against Alabama A&M, and the December 28th game against UMass, which I touched on earlier. So there's 3 good games there for men's and then 2 for women's that we're really excited about the holiday season and just kind of trying to spread some holiday cheer of our own.
All right, Aaron, appreciate it. A lot of information and great having you in here. We've got to get you on the radio with us now.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come out, as long as Mike Holm lets me. I'm there, but I appreciate you having me, and thanks for everything.
All right, again, I want to thank Aaron Bessie, Director of Marketing, joining us here on our final segment here of the Georgia State Sports Update. Time now to take a look at what's coming up on the calendar with regards to Georgia State athletics. And then the calendar is a little light as we look at this week. Again, Saturday, December the 10th, Georgia State basketball hosting Georgia Southwestern. They'll tip it off at 2 p.m. in the sports arena. Again, Ron Hunter looking for win number 108 in his coaching career at Georgia State. That would make him the all-time winningest basketball coach at 2 schools, Georgia State and, of course, IUPUI. Time now for Panthers in the National Football League. Last Sunday, Albert Wilson, the Kansas City Chiefs, come into the Georgia Dome. Falcons hosting the Chiefs. It was a pretty good day for Albert, a 55-yard touchdown run off of a fake punt. Albert also had 4 catches for 48 yards. The Chiefs held on and beat the Falcons 29-28. Will Lutz, the kicker for the New Orleans Saints, kicked 2 field goals. He was 2 for 2, but the Saints lost to the Detroit Lions. His field goals were from 32 and 40 yards out. And Ulrich John, who got his first start 2 weeks ago in the Dome against the Falcons, started at left tackle in the Cardinals' loss to the Washington Redskins. I want to thank all of our guests today. Head baseball coach Greg Frady, Brandon Leak, who's with me on the radio, and the Director of Marketing at Georgia State and Athletics, Aaron Bessie. I'm Dave Cohen for the entire crew. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia State Sports Update.